have a record that will never be broken.
You can't trip on that.
They hit big shots with Luka. I think the Clippers have no idea.
Oh, look at that reaction. Look at that reaction. What do you say? What do you know? It's the full Monte Sports Show. It is Sunday, January 9th, 2021. I am your host, Monte Perez, a.k.a. The Sports Whisperer. I want to thank everyone for watching last week. Had a tremendous show with Gus Farad on. We had 33 states tune in to the full Monte Sports Show. Quick programming note. Normally on Monday nights, we do a recap of the NFL games, but we are not doing that this time. We are doing a halftime show of the national championship game between Alabama and Georgia rematch. As you know, Alabama beat them a few weeks ago in the SEC championship, so you definitely want to check that out. Listen, our goal is to do this 5 days a week, and I can only do that with your help. So please, before we get to all these great games, I love putting that picture up of Tom Brady because he looks so lost right there trying to recover the fumble. But make sure to subscribe to the Nuts and Bolts YouTube channel. Make sure to give us a thumbs up. Make sure to give us a thumbs up. Like I said, we had 33 states watch the full Monte Sports Show last week. We are gaining in numbers. We are gaining in popularity. And, of course, follow me on social media, on Twitter, MonteJP231, and on TikTok. I think I'm up to about almost 150,000 views on TikTok. I'm trying to do at least one sports video per day on TikTok. So definitely want to check that out. We have the best guests all across the country, and this week is no exception. We're going to have Chris Rosevaglu talk about the Saints, right? If the Saints win today and the 49ers lose to the Rams, the Saints are in. We also have John Meyer going to join us, talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, a lot of people think that the Kansas City Chiefs have had a down year, but they haven't, right? You saw the game yesterday. What a crazy ending. It looks like Denver's going to score, go up and win the game. They fumble. The Chiefs run it back 98 yards for a touchdown. And then we are going to have the host of No Huddle Necessary. Dominic's going to join us, talk about the Atlanta Hawks, talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. And at the top of the hour, Rico, Show Me the Money Graziano will join us. Rico, 10 winning weeks, 5 losing weeks betting against the spread. Great job by Rico. He guaranteed his 4th straight year of picking winners for you guys. He's winning a lot of people money. A lot of people follow his advice. So you definitely want to check that out at the top of the hour. For me personally, I am in the finals of Nuts and Bolts Sports Fantasy Football. It's a little different. What you do is there was 4 teams that made the playoffs, and then during the playoffs, you have to play that team twice. So I'm in the finals. I'm up about 35 points, but Joe Burrow is not playing my quarterback. He is sitting out today, so I got to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask Rico, and we'll get to that as well. But, of course, we start each show with the good, the bad, and the funny. Let's start with the good. All right, guys, we're going to be doing an NBA show on Monday nights, and I got to tell you, we said this in the offseason. We said the Chicago Bulls were going to be one of the most improved teams just based on what they did this offseason, acquiring DeMar DeRozan, who, by the way, is an MVP candidate. He's averaging 26 points a game. Ball is really distributing the ball. Caruso from the Lakers, he looks jacked in that picture, doesn't he? Caruso from the Lakers has really fit in well. Now, the problem with this team is they don't have a lot of depth. They rely heavily on their top 7 players. Zach LaVine is averaging 26. This guy can play above the rim. You see him right there next to DeMar DeRozan. This guy can shoot the 3. I really like what the Chicago Bulls have done. I really like this team, but again, I'm just worried about their depth. You know, Daniel Goodwin III was on our show a few weeks ago, and he said that the Chicago Bulls should go out and get Marvin Bagley, a stretch 4 from Duke who plays for the Sacramento Kings. So that would be a great deal to add some more depth and scoring. But these top 4 or 5 guys for the Bulls have really played well, and the Bulls are looking very impressive early on. I think they're 27-10 or 26-10. Okay, let's go to the bad. Okay, now I posted a video on TikTok about Antonio Brown. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know what's going on with his mental health. Okay? But what I do know is you build up some sort of credibility in life, right? If you're for example, if you're a good worker, you're on time all the time, you never miss work, and then one day you call out sick, your boss is not going to question it. Your boss is not going to say, "Oh, are they going to the beach? What are they doing?" No, because you build up that equity. Antonio Brown, like I said on my video, he quit on the Raiders, he quit on the Steelers, but it's not just that, right? It's, the sexual assault charges. He pleaded no contest to battery. Um, and now he's going on TV and he's basically telling everyone, um, it's not my fault. I'm the best player there. They didn't treat me fairly. They didn't treat me fairly, which I don't understand because no one wanted Antonio Brown. He was a cancer. He was a virus. Everywhere he went, he caused problems on and off the field. Now he's attacking Tom Brady. Now he's attacking Gronkowski, Mike Evans, all these guys who put him in a position to win a Super Bowl last year. Yes, Antonio Brown is a talented individual. And I'm no moralist. I don't care that the story comes out now that he had sexual relations with some YouTube influencer the night of the. Who cares? He's a single guy. I don't care what anyone does in and out of the bedroom. That's up to two consenting adults. But this guy keeps blaming other people, right? This is the classic example of a narcissist, constantly blaming other people, constantly always looking for someone to blame instead of looking in the mirror and blaming himself. Instead of looking in the mirror and blaming himself. So any NFL team that's looking to pick up Antonio Brown, what the hell are you doing, man? Why? Why would you do this? How many strikes does this guy get because he can catch the ball and run fast? There's got to be more to life than just, winning. What about winning the right way? Someone posted something the other day and they said, Batman in the 60s and 70s was all about, having character. They focus on kids doing their homework, being nice to your neighbors, all that stuff. We're in a mentality right now where it's win at all costs all the time, and I can't stand it. I can't stand it. So I have no sympathy, empathy for Antonio Brown. You're out of the league because, and I'll be nice here, you're a jerk. You are out of the league because you are a jerk. Maybe look at yourself. Stop blaming, people. Stop blaming because you lost the election. Stop blaming when your team loses and you blame the refs. Look at yourself, dude. Look at yourself because you have all the talent in the world and you could blame everyone else, but you're the one that's not in the NFL. You're the one who's losing millions of dollars, and it couldn't have happened to a more jerk of a person. And again, that's being nice. Okay, so that's the good. Now the bad we went to, and now the ugly. That was not the good. That was the bad. Okay, Florida man arrested for calling 911 after his kitten was denied entry into a strip club. Again in Florida. And look at, these are this guy was going into a strip club and they wouldn't let the kitten in. So he caused the scene. He was obviously drunk and he was miserable that his kitten could not go into the strip club. And again, you can make your own joke here, pussycat. You can make your own joke, whatever you want to say, but this is just ridiculous. Only in Florida. Every day in Florida, someone's getting arrested for the dumbest, silliest thing. This guy wanted to go to a strip club and they denied him entry because it was a kitten that he wanted to bring in. Yes, George. Kitten. Listen, I say this all the time. We have the dumbest criminals. And when I read this headline, I thought it was a joke. I'm like, this can't be real. But it is. It is real. Okay, something that is real too that people need to know. Something that is real too that people need to know. I am 160 and 58 picking games. 160 wins, 58 losses. This is going to be a rough week, guys, because again, there's a lot of teams playing for seedings. We saw last night with Philadelphia, they didn't care. They just were happy to make the playoffs. So there's a lot of teams playing for seedings. So I don't know if teams are going to rest their starters. But let's get right to it. Again, 160 and 58 picking games. The Packers are 13 and 3 against the 13 and 1 Lions. I'm a little upset here because I had the Lions winning 4 games and they're only going to win 2 or 3. I don't know how many starters are going to play. Listen, I think Detroit may be fired up for this game, but there's really no reason to be. There's really no reason to be. Um, Take the Packers. Look for A.J. Dillon, their backup, to play a lot for Aaron Jones and look for him to have over 100 yards. I'm taking the Packers here 24-17. 24-17. And by the way, Devontae Adams, this guy, I mean, everyone wants to talk about Cooper Kupp. You want to talk about Tyreek Hill. You want to talk about Diggs. You got to bring Devontae Adams into the conversation as one of the best wide receivers over the last 2 or 3 years. This guy's putting up numbers. He always seems to be open in the red zone or on a big third down play. I don't know how he's open. Think about this, right? Devontae Adams has over 120 catches, and the next guy on the Packers, the Packers, not running backs, the Packers' second leading wide receiver, okay? Second leading wide receiver. Devontae Adams has 117 catches. The second wide receiver, Alan Lazard, has 35. He has almost more than 100 more catches than their second wide receiver. Now, I know Aaron Jones has 52 catches, but I'm just talking about wide receiving core. Devontae Adams, 117 catches. Alan Lazard, 35. That is insane. That is insane. Okay, let's move to the next game. Colt fans, you got to win this game. I know you've struggled against Jacksonville at Jacksonville, but I think half the Jacksonville Jaguars are pretty much have one foot out the door of that locker room, the other on a banana peel. They don't want to play this game. They're playing out the string. Look for Jonathan Taylor to run early and often. I like the Colts here against a terrible Jacksonville Jaguar team, 33-17. 33-17. All right. Washington football team, 6-10 at the 4-12 Giants. The Giants have won 5 out of 6 against them, but I got to be honest with you here. I think Taylor Henneke, I think this coaching staff and Ron Rivera, I think they want to end on a positive. We all thought, that Washington was going to be much better this year because of their defense dominance last year, but they haven't been. 6-10. I don't know why Joe Judge is being hired to come back a third season in New York, but I'm taking Washington here 24-13. 24-13. Okay, Titans 11-5 at the 4-12 Texans. I'm going to be honest with you here. Can we say that the Titans, even without Derrick Henry, are one of the best teams in the AFC? Does that say anything about the AFC, or does that say more things about the Titans? They are saving Derrick Henry for the playoffs. If they win, they clinch the number 1 seed. I think they go in and they play this Houston Texan team and they blow them out. This is a statement game for Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel's not resting anyone. They're looking for the number 1 seed so they could get an extra bye week for Derrick Henry. Take the Titans 34-13. Okay, here's a crazy stat, right? Here's a crazy stat. No one ever thought going into this season that the 10-6 Bengals would win the division for the first time since 2015. And no one thought the Browns would be 7-9. Now, Bengals are averaging 27.8 points per game. They've really exploded the second half of the season. Jamar Chase is probably going to win Rookie of the Year, but I got to be honest with you. They're not playing Joe Burrow. I don't know if this game means anything. I think the Browns are just, going to see who the second and third and fourth stringers are, if they'll be a part of this team moving forward. So I'm going to take the Bengals here, believe it or not, even though Joe Burrow is not playing. 27-17. Okay, another crazy stat. Another crazy stat. When you think about Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, you think they've dominated every team in the AFC. They've dominated the Bills. I think Bill Belichick going into this year was 32-3 against the Bills in their last 35 games. We know how they dominate the Jets, but they are 9-12. Bill Belichick is 9-12 in Miami. Did Brady and the Bucks just and the Patriots just go out on South Beach every night and just party up? 9-12. The only thing that matters in this game is Jalen Waddle's looking to break the rookie record set by Anquan Bolden in 2003 with 101 catches. Jalen Waddle from Alabama has 99 catches. He's going to break the record. And think about Devontae Smith, the other Alabama wide receiver last night, broke the rookie record in Philadelphia for most yards. So think about that. You had Waddle and you had Devontae Smith on Alabama for all those years. One's breaking the rookie record in Philadelphia, and the other one's going to break the National Football League record, beating Anquan Bolden's record. He'll probably have 105, 106 catches. Congratulations to Waddle. Okay, the Bucks without Antonio Brown, they're playing the Panthers. Tampa Bay is averaging 405 yards per game this season. That is number one in the NFL. The Bucks are good enough to beat a bad Panther team. Look, I had I was 50-50, right? Because I had the Eagles as my surprise team to make the playoffs. And when they were 3-0, I said this in preseason, I had Carolina making the playoffs. Boy, was I wrong. Matt Rule's going to be fired. It's a shame. I had such high hopes for him, but he's going to be done after this game in Carolina. All right, Kyler Murray, they beat the Cowboys last week. They play the Seahawks. Is this Russell Wilson's last game in Seattle? We don't know. If I'm Russell Wilson, I look at that NFC division. You have Trey Lance, you have Sean McVay, you have Kyle Shanahan, you have Kyler Murray, and Pete Carroll's running an offense from 1987. So if I'm Russell Wilson in Seattle, I get the hell out of Dodge and I go to Pittsburgh. I go somewhere where, we're going to have a competitive chance. Because if you look at that division, Sean McVay's not going anywhere. Kyle Shanahan's not going anywhere. Kyler Murray's not going anywhere. You're going in with arguably the fourth best offensive coach in Pete Carroll every time you play one of these teams. Take the Cardinals here 33-27. All right, the Buffalo Bills. I know that I've been hard on the Bills, and I said this from week one. They are a good team, but I don't think they're a Super Bowl team. But I will say this. The Bills have outscored their opponents 177. They've outscored them by 177 points. That is insane, right? That is insane how dominant the Bills have been. When the Bills win, they kick teams' asses because their plus minus differential is 177. 177. That is, to me, just incredible how they're blowing teams out. Look, Jets 4-12, pathetic, terrible. We knew this coming in. I'm wearing my lime green in honor of the pathetic Jets. For those of you who don't think I'm still a Jet fan, I've watched one game this year. And the game I watched was last week against the Tampa Bay Bucks when the Jets head coach, instead of going for the field goal and going up 7, went for it on 4th and 2 with a quarterback dive. Tom Brady gets the ball back, drives down with no timeouts left, scores a touchdown. They lose the game. Pathetic Jets. Take the Bills here 41-20. Again, I am 160-58 picking NFL games, 160-58 picking NFL games. The goal was to be 80%. I'm not going to be that. I'll probably be around 76, 77%. Thank you all so much for letting me do this and pick the games. I know a lot of people don't bet on sports, and they watch a lot of games during the season. So it's a good opportunity for those of you who don't bet to really understand what's going on between the two teams and see what to look for. Okay, so that's that. Again, 160-58. Probably won't get to 80%, but we're definitely trying. All right, let's get to the comment sections. Yes. When I say Jets, that's normally a drinking game. And yes, that is a great stat. I mean, The Bills are dominating. The Bills are dominating. A plus minus of 177. Of 177. Yeah. 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 Listen, Vic Fangio is going to be fired. Matt Nagy's going to be fired. There's a slew of other coaches that I'll get to that should be fired at the end of the season. Listen, Denver, again, you have a defensive coach in a league, in a conference in the NFC West where you have my boy Justin Herbert right there. You have Derek Carr. They're playing tonight in a huge Sunday night game. And you have Patrick Mahomes. So all these Drew Lock guys, all these Teddy Bridgewater guys, unless you go out and get a Deshaun Watson or maybe a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers, again, you're going in with the fourth best quarterback every game in that conference because Derek Carr is so underrated. I mean, the fact that the Raiders are playing so well despite losing their coach, despite their wide receiver going to jail for the rest of his life for a DUI. So if you're Denver, you really got to figure out what you're doing here because it really doesn't look well for them. All right, let's bring on two guys who we love to have on the show. Chris Rosenglue, John Meyer, covering the Saints, covering the Kansas City Chiefs. How are you guys today?
Doing well,
Money.
All right, John, let's start with you. I watched that game last night and the ending where, they blitz, they tackle Melvin Gordon, and they ran it back for 98 yards. You must have been going crazy right there.
I was. It was the first real exciting moment in our youngest son's Chiefs fandom. He got a little upset when Dad got a little loud there on that former Charger on Charger crime that went down when Melvin Ingram just lit up Melvin Gordon and rookie Nick Bolton. Man, what a surprise that was! I thought he may have been gassed about the 40, but when you have to outrun Drew Lock, he made it look a little easy.
John, I say this all the time. I don't know what a lot of the media, there's something wrong with the Chiefs. There's something not right with Patrick Mahomes. Going into this game, they were averaging 285 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 66 completion percentage. Chris, who's had 5 quarterbacks play for the Saints this year, he would kill that Patrick Mahomes. So why is the media, why is the narrative that Patrick Mahomes is having a down year?
Because the media is comparing Patrick Mahomes to Patrick Mahomes. And with that bar that was set in 2018 when he went off for 5,050 TDs, it's hard to compete with that. But the Chiefs don't play the way they played in 2018 because they have a defense who can step up and play in games. How many teams would take a quarterback that finishes the season with 3,800 plus yards, 37 TDs, 13 interceptions? That interception number it's high this year, and a lot of that is on Patrick, but a lot of that was also on receivers dropping balls and them going up in the air and getting intercepted. You take the good with the bad with a gunslinger, but 3,800 yards and 37 TDs, I don't know why you wouldn't want to have that. I seen a little blip somewhere. I can't remember who tweeted it out, but if Patrick Mahomes goes out and has another 35 touchdown season next year, he will pass Namath, Aikman, Starr, Staubach,
right,
Van Norman. It's crazy. In 6 full seasons, he's going to have more touchdown passes than half
Hall of
the
Fame
Hall
guy.
of Fame quarterback class.
Right. All right, Chris, let's talk about what's going on with the Saints here. First, I'm going to start this. Can I make the argument that if the Saints win today and the 49ers lose and they make the playoffs, how do you not give Sean Payton Coach of the Year? He's played with 5 different quarterbacks. I mean, John was just talking about Hall of Fame quarterbacks. You lose Drew Brees, Jameis Winston gets hurt, Hill's been hurt. This has been crazy, right? I mean, how good has Sean been?
It's weird because the thing that the Saints are historically good at least under Sean Payton, they're not good at this year. They're one of the worst offensive teams in the league, and they've just been really adaptable. It's a team that predicates themselves on defense, field position, great punts. It's weird. It's an ugly brand of football, but it's been working for the most part. And as for whether or not he would win it, I'll go as far to say this. I think there's no way Sean Payton will win Coach of the Year. I just think it's because he's Sean Payton. It doesn't mean he doesn't deserve it. I just think that there is a target that he puts, on his own back at times with the way that he handles, whether he's talking about officiating, talking about Goodell. And while I love it, there is a price to be paid for making those type of comments. And I think that would be him not winning coach of the year and maybe it going to a Zach Taylor or a Mike Vrabel or a coach of that sort. But I think he's been outstanding. And I think the one thing I love about him this year is he just wants to figure out how they can win. And it doesn't matter if it's super ugly and they're winning 18-10 or 9-0, whatever it might be, as long as it's a win. That's all that matters to Sean Payton.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. I want to know, you cover the Saints, you write about the Saints. How is it for you when you went on cruise control for years with Drew Brees, and now you've had Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, Trevor Siemian, Ian Book, Blake Gilkin? Like, as a fan, as someone who covers this, are you like, what the hell a year makes, right? It's been a crazy year because of COVID, but as a fan, how are you adjusting to this style of play? Like, 2 minutes left in the game, you want your defense on the field, not your quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think the defense makes it a lot easier to still be somewhat comfortable. I mean, you're never going to be comfortable with this offense the way that's just a revolving door at quarterback. But, with the way the defense is played, whether it's the front seven, whether it's the back end with the secondary, I feel like, they have enough talent that, all right, I still feel comfortable. But in terms of the offense, it's just a weird year. I mean, if Jameis Winston doesn't go down, I don't know if he would necessarily light up the box score, but I think he would have played a game manager style football, which is what he was doing prior to going down. So I just chalk it up to, look, there were injuries. The Saints were trying to just find a bridge. Just kind of remember what New England did when Tom Brady left. They were hoping Cam Newton could just get them through that 1 year, and then they drafted Mac Jones. Jameis Winston was playing much better than what Cam Newton was doing 2 seasons ago. And then I think the Saints were ready to make that move in the offseason, potentially find your future quarterback. But it's just been a weird situation. They're fortunate enough that they have a great defense. And even Taysom Hill, as bad as people might think he is as a quarterback, he gives you that element of running that at least they can move the chains from time to time.
Right.
And they're just going to win by all means necessary.
Okay, John, one of the things that we know about Andy Reid is he doesn't really like to run the ball, right? He abandons the run. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a very good running back. You have a pretty good offensive line, which we'll get to in a minute. So is it just going to be running back by committee in the playoffs? Or if you get 20 touches from your running backs, is that all we can expect from this Andy Reid team moving forward?
I think Andy, as much as he sometimes gets criticism for not being able to adapt, he has made some in-season adaptations with the running game, and when it's going, he goes with the hot hand, and that's what he did yesterday with Jerick McKinnon. When Darrell was a little banged up, he's given multiple drives to Derek Gore at times. He's ridden the hot hand with Darrell Williams. He's done it with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The thing with Clyde has been where he was drafted, and that's where his criticism comes in from. He had over 1,100 yards from scrimmage last year. He was on pace for 800 or 900, but got derailed by injuries this year. When you're comparing that to a Darrell Williams, who was an undrafted free agent, where he went over 1,000 all or scrimmage yards yesterday. The value for your production from a first rounder to an undrafted free agent, there should be a pretty significant gap there, and there just hasn't been. But Andy, I think is going to ride the hot hand. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to get the first shot if healthy next weekend if Kansas City does play in the wild card weekend. But it's Clyde's going to get the first shot, but it's definitely going to be the hot hand in game.
John, people are asking, where are the baby pictures? So what happened yesterday? You're watching the game.
Yeah.
And you start yelling, and your son probably got a little scared, right?
Yeah. So Jude was, on the ground watching the game. Torin was feeding with mom, and I'm sitting there on the couch, and you watch that play, and it got a little loud, and he got a little scared. So this is the full Monte's first shot of little Torin.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I love that hat.
Yeah. So,
and how is your oldest with that one? Does he acknowledge the baby? Does he have any idea what's going on?
Yeah. So he's less than 17 months old. So,
right.
Yeah, we were, pleasantly blessed with our second one. But Jude has taken to his little brother.
Okay.
There's sometimes when he gets fussy, he doesn't understand why little brother's getting mad about things, especially during the Chiefs game. It's like, wow, that's what we do here. Get over
That's
it.
so funny.
No, he's really done well for a little guy that it's rocked his world, but he's really gone with it.
That's great. All right, Chris. So going into the season, I think you've been on my show long enough to know that we thought it would be about 9-8. You said if everything goes right at the beginning, maybe 10 wins. So I got to say this team has overachieved, right, because of their injuries, or is this where you kind of saw them even with their injuries?
Yeah, I think I kind of saw them at this spot. And the only reason I'm not going to say they overachieved is before the injuries all happened, they were 5-2. So they left themselves a nice cushion of being 3 games over 500. And if they slipped up, they'd be fine. It turned out their slip up went from going to 500 to going from 5-2 to 5-7, which is a major slip up. But I would say they're just it's on par right now for what I thought. And again, if they win today and the 49ers lose, they're a playoff team. And that's kind of where I thought they would be because you have 7 teams for each conference and because I just didn't think the rest of the NFC particularly was great. I know there are some teams that stand out from the pack, but as a whole, I don't think it was that deep. So they're kind of where they're supposed to be, in my opinion. They're actually getting a little bit healthier. For example, Ryan Ramchek's missed a lot of games. He's missed over a month of action. He's probably going to play today. So, this is kind of where I thought they would be. I'm not surprised that they have a chance to be 9-8 and a chance to be the 7th seed in the NFC.
Has this been a fun season for you? Because I follow you on Twitter, and there are a lot of times where you're like, it's so frustrating at times. So it's been like a roller coaster, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's funny though, Monty. I can't tell you how many Saints fans like DM me over the course of the season, but and I have no problem with it. I answer them back. It's all fun, but the mood always changes because when they won the Packers game to start the season, and it was just the first week, and that is probably week 1's always an anomaly. But I remember so many people were like, okay, that's it. We're going to be great this year. And I was like, all right, let's just slow our rolls. They fall to 2-2. I have people DMing me, okay, they stink this year. I was like, all right, let's just wait it out. When they get to 5-2, that was it. Everyone was on the Saints are going to be maybe win the South. They got this. I was like, all right, still don't know. When they went to 5-7, that was the moment where my DMs were flooded of Saints fans telling me, tank, as if I'm in charge of what this team's going to do anyway. And I was like, there's still a lot of football left. And now that they're 8-8, I see every single fan today is like, we better make the playoffs. We better get in. I was like, all right, yep. It's weird though. I've enjoyed it. It's been so odd. I think the reason I've enjoyed it is they're playing with house money. If they make the playoffs and Taysom Hill's their starting quarterback, no one's going to expect them to win. So if they lose, what's the big deal? Everyone thought you would.
Okay. Going along those lines, John, I told people all year long, Andy Reid didn't just forget how to coach. Patrick Mahomes didn't forget how to play. But it was this defense that had a 5 or 6 week streak where they were letting up less than 12 points a game. So I look at this team and everyone thinks, okay, this is an offensive minded team, but they can win with defense, right? How come their defense has been so good from like week 4 to like week 13?
I think it was getting players in position where they could be successsul. They wanted to try this experiment at the beginning of the season where they kicked Chris Jones out to the outside and had him opposite Frank Clark on the defensive end position. And then you had a couple of new guys running there in the middle with Jaron Reed and Tershawn Wharton. And just the combination wasn't good up front. And when you can't, create a pass rush, it's going to expose the back end, and that's what it did. We had Daniel Sorensen out of position for way too many weeks.
Man, he looked awful early on, right?
Daniel Sorensen is this hybrid linebacker is what he is. He's not a coverage guy. He can blanket in coverage, but you don't want to get him one-on-one with anybody or even give him a third of a field or anything like that. He just doesn't have the physical tools to do it. And so quarterbacks in the NFL are smart. Offensive coordinators in the NFL are going to attack your weakness, and that weakness was Daniel Sorensen in there. But you put him in position. You start playing Nick Bolton, letting him get more comfortable. You get a healthy Willie Gay back in the middle there as well, who's a great coverage linebacker. You put in Juan Thornhill on the back end where he's belonged. You let guys like Rashad Fenton and L'Jarius Sneed get healthy and put them in position. A lot of it was health, and then put Chris Jones, who's an all-pro defensive tackle, who's the best defensive tackle not named Aaron Donald, in the middle. And then you sign Melvin Ingram, who brings a veteran presence, but also just schematically works with Spags defense. And it just was a recipe for success.
Yeah, no, I was shocked at some of the things they did early on. And again, a lot of it has to do with injuries. And Bill Belichick does this all the time, right? The first 2 months, he's just experimenting.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, with Sorensen and some of the moves they were making, I'm like, I know this defense coordinator. I've seen him be successful. What the hell's going on? Was there ever a moment when the Chiefs were struggling where you're like, damn, we may be in trouble here? Or you were like Chris says, it's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, week 5 against the Bills when Diggs and Dawson Knox just lit up Sorensen for 3 touchdowns. I was at the game with my wife. It was just miserable to watch. Like, right. You could see it before the play snap. They're going deep and they're going to score. And you would see Tyrann Mathieu with his hands up middle of the play because he knew that the defense was out of position. and there didn't seem to be any sense of urgency from the defensive coaching staff. And it was frustrating to watch. You never want to blame one player for a defense just failing, but that's what it looked like. And Tyrann Mathieu can only be in one position on the defense, and he's had a down year for Tyrann Mathieu standards. But when you're a leader of the defense and you can't fix the problem that's out there, it showed in frustration. But once they started making those small incremental moves, Spags has done this. He done it in 2019 when he came to Kansas City and did this. He did it in 08 and 010 with 08 and 010 with the Giants. He grows a defense in season, and it's hard to see that in the moment. Like when you know that you have the pieces, the Chiefs essentially have the same defensive pieces that they had when they won in 19. It was the same defense. There's a guy here like Melvin Ingram. He's a new addition, and then the linebackers, they're new additions. But we thought they were upgrades, not downgrades. The frustration that I have with the defense this year is we could add Melvin Ingram on a cheap deal at the beginning of the season, and we decided to give up a 6th-round pick for him midseason. That's my problem. The defense, we have to make in-game adjustments. That's where you seen that in the Cincinnati game a week ago. That Spags They had a game plan and they wrote it the entire way, and Jamar Chase just lit them up. So
I never understood. My brother Pete always says this: if we're watching a baseball game and a guy hits 2 home runs, why are you pitching to him? If a guy has 2 touchdown catches, at what point do you say, let someone else beat him? That's why I don't understand why Devontae Adams is open in the red zone all the time. Like, and I'm a Packer fan. Cover someone else.
Travis Kelce. Just think about that. Like, how many times will you see Travis Kelce on a 5-yard out in the red zone, and they're trying one-on-one, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Well, Chris, going to you, I used to say all the time when he set the record in Michael Thomas, how the hell is Michael Thomas open every time? And Andrew brings up a good point. Can you walk us through Taysom Hill's injury and what exactly is it? How healthy is he? What's going on with the status of his health?
Well, which one? I'm really curious actually, because I know Tyreek got injured yesterday.
Right, no, I think Andrea, I think she's talking about both of them. So let's start with you, Chris.
I mean, I'll just keep it pretty simple. He's dealing with the same injury Russell Wilson had earlier this year, but instead of getting surgery because it wasn't that torn, he's just playing with a splint on his finger, and he has to keep it on for, they said, 8 straight weeks. And if he takes it off, you basically restart the clock of your treatment, which is the weirdest thing I've heard. He doesn't really throw particularly well with it on right now. It looks like he's more so pushing the ball than throwing it. But hey, I mean, he's playing a game manager style football. He's gone the last 2 games without a turnover. Saints are going to need him to keep it up. But yeah, it's called mallet finger. It looks disgusting. It is disgusting. And the fact that he's playing out there is pretty crazy.
Okay, let's talk about this defense. John just talked about his, and then we'll get the Tyreek Hill injury for John. This defense is fourth against the run. They're only giving up 19.7 points per game. For those who don't watch the Saints week in and week out, talk about some of the players and who is your defensive MVP for the Saints this year?
Yeah, I think for the Saints, it's the fact that they're so sound in all three levels. And the linebacker corps for the last couple of years has been such a concern because it was always Demario Davis and no one next to him. Well, this year, Quan Alexander has somehow stayed healthy despite coming off of a torn Achilles, which is a brutal injury to rehab from. But
and you were worried about him, right, Chris?
And I was, yeah. I wasn't sure what type of player he'd be, but he's still an explosive linebacker. The sideline to sideline range is still there. So he's been great next to Demario Davis. Pete Werner, the rookie linebacker from Ohio State, has been a nice addition to them. But I think the real impressive thing is the secondary and what they're able to do. You know, when you think of the Saints secondary, you think of Marshawn Lattimore, you think of Marcus Williams, but it's also been the slot guys. It's been CJ Gardner-Johnson. It's been PJ Williams. It's even been, you know, your rookie corner and Paulson Adebo, who has really played so well that when the Saints traded for Bradley Roby, everyone thought he would be their number 2 corner. But Adebo's beat him out for the job, and he's found a way to hold on to the job the whole season. So the Saints secondary has been great. Now the pass rush is amping up. 7.5 sacks over the last 3 games for Cam Jordan. He'll probably try to add another 1 or 2 to his total today against Matt Ryan. So it's just a sound defense. If I was going to give MVP, honestly, I would give it to Dennis Allen because there's so many different players on this team defensively that are playing so well. Demario Davis, Marcus Davenport, Cam Jordan, even Marcus Williams. I'm going to give it to the guy who's found a way to just get this unit to play an elite brand of football. That's Dennis Allen. And shout out to him as well. When Sean Payton misses the Tampa Bay game with COVID, Dennis Allen finds a way to put together a scheme that keeps Tom Brady off the scoreboard. So I would give the MVP, even though it's for a player, I would give it to your defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, the way he's played. But the guys that I mentioned, Davenport, Cam Jordan, Lattimore, Williams, Demario Davis, all of them, they've been outstanding.
Yeah, that defense has been fun to watch. I'm going to say something here. First, John, let's talk about Tyreek Hill. How injured is he? I mean, obviously, there's a difference now in the playoff format where only one team gets the bye. So teams like the Chiefs, the Bills, they'd love to have the bye. Tennessee, I know the Packers are going to play some starters here, but you want rest. How much rest does Hill need? Is this going to be something that's going to affect him over the course of the playoffs, or you're not worried about him?
I'm not necessarily worried about him. I was a little concerned that we decided to trot him out there a handful of times yesterday with the way that field was. Mid-second quarter, I was ready to pull all of our starters out the way that field was. It was terrible. You had kickers slipping on planting. You had receivers falling down on routes constantly. It was a poor field to play on, and it didn't seem like a necessary thing to try to throw your Super Bowl talented roster out there on something like that when it looks in all likelihood that the Chiefs are going to be playing next weekend.
Anyway, yeah.
So that's what my thought process was. But you know, when you beat a division rival 12 times in a row and you're going for a 13 straight, you throw it all out on the line.
I can't.
I say that to a certain extent.
I can't believe they've beaten them 13 times in a row. Like, if you're Denver, what are you doing?
Since the Broncos have beaten Kansas City.
It's unbelievable. Okay, I'm going to say something here. You guys may appreciate it, or you may think I'm crazy. I know Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, but for my money, there's been no more valuable offensive rookie than the center Creed Humphreys from the University of Oklahoma. I love this kid coming out of the draft. John, is he as good as I think he is?
I think he's probably better than you think he is. He's probably going to be all pro. Right. And as good as Jamar Chase has been, right. Jalen Waddle has been good as well. Jamar Chase has been, and Mac Jones has been. You just can't put a price tag on what protecting and snapping the ball to Patrick Mahomes means to those here in Kansas City. There has been a national campaign by a radio station here in Kansas City about trying to get Creed Humphrey offensive rookie of the year this year. The hashtag is Creed is good. Check it out. There's video. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Good Morning Football's Kyle Brandt is all about this. There's shirts available. I can get one sent to you, Monte, if you want to push for the campaign.
I think I'm going to, because my brother loves this dude.
Yeah, he's awesome, and the next jersey that I get will definitely be a Creed Humphrey jersey. I love the kid. He looks like he's 15 years old, like a giant 15-year-old. he's a lot of fun. He got all the offensive line room Creed is good shirts for Christmas, and then he made one with all the names of the other players that he wears. He's been an instrumental part to the offensive line overhaul here in Kansas City. Huge value.
It was a question last year after the Super Bowl. It was a huge question after the Super Bowl.
So Austin Ryder, who started the Super Bowl for the Kansas City Chiefs at center, is sitting on Jacksonville's practice squatters. Yeah, so that tells you how bad the interior offensive line was for Kansas City. So a year ago. So when General Manager Brett Veach sees a weakness, he goes out and does a complete overhaul. He did it between 18 and 19 with that defense and bringing Tyrann Mathieu and Frank Clark and Anthony Hitchens over. And he did it. He recognized the need this year. Orlando Brown, Joe Thuney, the rookies Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey, the rotating door we've had at right tackle, it seems like, because of injury. But, the Chiefs recognize the need, and Creed Humphrey is every bit deserving to be offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah,
nobody else is going to be all pro as a rookie, and he's deservingly so.
He's been great. I'm talking with John Meyer and Chris Roseglue here. We're going to get Dominic Tarowski on in about maybe less than 5 minutes. Bring him on to join the chat. All right, Chris, I say this all the time. As a fan, whether it's college football, whether it's college basketball, get me to the Sweet 16. If I'm a basketball fan, if you're a Knicks fan, keep me excited, as the season goes on, because my team suck. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm a Jet fan. So break this game down. Where are you watching it? What are your expectations? And are you happy that, wow, we've had so much turnover and I'm still emotionally connected to the playoff team going into the last week of the season? That's all you could expect, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, Monte, I think sports fans in general should take that approach a little bit more often, because I think if we set ourselves up for like playoff or bust or Super Bowl or bust or, NBA championship or bust, you're never really going to be fully happy because the odds of it happening are so slim each year because there's so many teams. But look, if you look at a Saints team that's gone through a lot of injuries, that is trying to find themselves post, life after Drew Brees, they're 8-8. They have a chance to make the playoffs. You probably really couldn't ask for more. And we also have to take into consideration they were $100 million over the cap last year. So they had to make tough decisions, letting Sheldon Rankins go, Jared Cook go, Emmanuel Sanders go, Janoris Jenkins go. So many tough, really good players for this team. Found a way to just refuel through the draft, found a way to stay competitive. And this is a team where, everyone cracks their Taysom Hill jokes, and I don't blame them. Crack them all day long. But, Taysom Hill might end up being a quarterback on a playoff team next week, which would be the funniest thing in the world. So in terms of keys, things that they have to do, they can't get off to a slow start. Last time against Atlanta, they fell down 17-3. They managed to come back before they gave up a game-winning field goal. But you can't really go down to 17-3, let Atlanta build confidence in a game where you should be able to break their will. You don't want that to happen. Another important factor is just having a plan for Cordero Patterson. Last time around, over 120 receiving yards. I want to see how they game plan for him, because he's had a breakout season. I'm really happy for him. He's been a intriguing weapon for years. Finally found the right role. So do you have a plan for Patterson? Make sure you don't get off to a bad start, and get Alvin Kamara in space a little bit more. We saw it a tad in the receiving game last week. We didn't see it at all in the running game because they've been missing so many offensive linemen. But Alvin Kamara is due for a big game, and hopefully today's the one that he has it in.
Plus, when you're the Saints team now, you want to play from a lead. You don't want to get down 14-0 and have to rely on on throwing the ball. As for Patterson, we're seeing it with Deebo Samuel as well. They're playing running back. They're playing wide receiver, kind of a hybrid. So who wins this game, Chris, and why?
Yeah, I think the Saints are going to win this game. I really do. I don't think they're going to get swept by the Falcons this year. I think this defense is just playing such a relentless brand of football right now. Only 10 points last week against the Panthers. 2 weeks ago, the box score is going to tell you 20-3 for the Dolphins game, but Ian Book spotted the Dolphins 7 points with that interception early in the game. So they played great there. The shutout against Tampa Bay, they're just playing such a nice brand of football right now with Cam Jordan, with Marcus Davenport getting after Matt Ryan. I think they'll be able to get pressure on him. Kyle Pitts is going to play, but he's banged up with a hamstring injury. If he's not anywhere close to what Kyle Pitts has done this year, which has been an under-the-radar, really good rookie year, then that takes away a good weapon for there. So I expect the Saints to win. I expect it to be ugly. I expect it to be close, but I could see them winning this football game somewhere along the lines of a 17-13 game.
Okay, we're going to bring someone on to the show now. You guys know him, the host of No Huddle Necessary, Dominic Tarowski. How are you, Dom?
Pretty good, pretty good. You actually caught me while I was borderline on vacation, but it's all good.
Well, we've been wanting to get you on. I know you usually work Sundays, so it's great to have you on. We're going to do a little NFL roundtable discussion here. First, Dom, let's start with you. Steelers playing today. They still have an outside chance. I'm going to say this for you guys. John, you don't have to worry about a quarterback. Dom, start with you. Would you like to see Deshaun Watson in a Pittsburgh uniform? And then, Chris, you could answer that question next season.
Oh, of course. I mean, granted, all of the legal stuff taken care of. If he's cleared of everything, and if it's true that like if he's I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Innocent. There it is. If he's innocent, and all of this stuff finally does go over, and everything's get taken care of. I mean, in my opinion, Deshaun Watson is the 4th best quarterback in the NFL. So, yes, I would love to have him in a Pittsburgh uniform. I don't care that it's going to take a whole bunch of draft capital to do it. I'm sure we'd have to part ways with maybe, like I said, some draft capital, some players that we probably wouldn't want to see leave. But if Kevin Colbert's final move as general manager for the Pittsburgh, he announced he's going to be after this year. If his final move is bringing us Deshaun Watson, then that's a hell of a way to go out. So, yes, without question, undoubtedly, I would love to have Deshaun Watson in Pittsburgh.
Okay, Chris, what are the Saints doing at their quarterback position? It's obviously not going to be Jameis Winston. It's not going to be Taysom Hill. We've seen, you and I would talk about this. We're like, hey, they're paying Taysom Hill this money. Why isn't he an every down quarterback? His style is just not suited because he takes so many hits. He's almost a power runner at the quarterback position. So what are they doing at quarterback? Where do you want to see them go? Either in the draft or signing a veteran?
Yeah, I think it's, there's two things. For me, I would love to see them, make a call about Russell Wilson. And the reason I say that is we go back to last year when Russell Wilson was saying he didn't want to trade, but put out 4 teams that he would be willing to play for, which is a nice way of saying I'm okay with being traded. The Saints were one of those teams. The other 3 teams were the Cowboys, the Raiders, and the Bears, who all, in my opinion, kind of have their quarterback situation figured out. So I would see what's going on with Russell Wilson. Can they make a move for him? That would be interesting. He does have a no trade clause, which makes it a little bit easier for the Saints compared to a guy that doesn't have a no trade clause, and it comes down to draft assets, and that would benefit a team like the Eagles or the Giants who have a plethora of picks. So I would make a run after Russell Wilson. I'm not going to rule out them bringing back Jameis Winston, although I think it's a little less likely compared to other moves. And if they're going to go with the draft, the guy that I think makes the most sense for the Saints would be Kenny Pickett out of Pitt. Yeah. He really checks off all the boxes that Sean Payton looks for. He has this rule that he takes from Bill Parcells, and it's, do you win this amount of games as a starter? Did you play until you're a senior? Did you check off all these boxes? And he checks off every single one. I think would be a great fit for them if they went via the draft.
No disrespect to what you just said there, but I would never take advice about offense in today's game from Bill Parcells. Never. Because Bill Parcells, if he was playing today, he would literally be my boy Mario Cristobal, who was at Oregon, who just wants to run the ball 40 times and not make. But there is something to be said for a mature quarterback who's played 2-3 years, who's won. Okay, John, back to you here. Is it Super Bowl or bust? Are you as confident as you've been over the last 2 years in this Chiefs team, or is the AFC as wide open as I think it is?
Well, the AFC is wide open, but when it comes push to shove, it's the Chiefs are the best roster out there. I'm with you. I think Buffalo's the biggest threat to Kansas City, just because of how many points they can put up. Tennessee, what they're doing is good, and they can be a matchup nightmare. But it comes down to quarterback play in the playoffs, and I don't trust Ryan Tannehill enough to get that team to the Super Bowl. Right. So that's where they are very likely going to be the 1 seed. They're going to have a bye. They're going to have somebody coming in, but the truth of the matter is the AFC playoffs are wide open. The Chiefs' most likely opponent at this point is going to be the Chargers for a third time. Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes in the first round of the playoffs. So that's a dream matchup that I'm sure somebody in the NFL offices in New York is just salivating about. I don't want to say Super Bowl or bust. I will be disappointed if the Chiefs don't make the Super Bowl, but that's me as a fan, not me as somebody who's out there with an unbiased opinion.
All right, John, real quick, then we'll get you out of here, and we'll keep Chris and Dom on. Thank you so much for joining us. Bruce Weber, Kansas State. What are we doing with this guy, John? Because he's had success there, right? But over the last couple of seasons, he's really struggled. 8-5 so far this year. What are they doing with this guy for college basketball?
I don't know what they're doing with him. Not enough. He's 8-32 in his last 40 Big 12 games. That's the stat that just people need to know. Tom Asbury, Jim Woldridge, as bad as they were, their worst stretches were like 12-28 or 15-25. I think was Woldridge's worst stretch in a 40 games. Like it's bad. Like
it's bad.
That he's won 2 Big 12 championships for this team in the past decade. I understand that, but I need some consistency from my coach. I would much rather go to the dance and get knocked out in the round of 64 4 out of every 5 years instead of making a Sweet 16 or an Elite 8 run once every 6 years. That I want some consistency as a fandom. I don't think K-State is they're not, a blue blood level program. They're a top 30 program historically. You go look at wins. I think they're 28 or 29th overall in the history of college basketball.
And like you said, win 19 to 20 games a year is not too much to ask.
No, and it's not like the facilities and stuff are bad at Kansas State. They're, we have to compete with Big Brother down the road in Lawrence, but it's been proven in recent history that you can be successful at Kansas State. Both Frank Martin and Bob Huggins did it quickly. Yeah. So there's not even a big turnaround. There's some talent on this roster. Just the development of talent has always been the weakness of Bruce Weber. He can recruit pretty well, but once he gets somebody on campus 4 years later, they're the same player.
They're the same player. They're the same player. Yeah.
It's frustrating to watch. And then with the way that the transfers happen in college sports now, that if you're not developing players or giving them the role that they need to be successful, they're going to leave, and that has happened at Kansas State as it happens everywhere.
By the way, I don't know if you guys saw this. Jerry Rice's son has just transferred from Colorado, the wide receiver. So we'll see where he winds up. All right, John, thank you so much. We'll have you on down the road again because I think Kansas City's going to make a deep playoff run. How can we follow you? How can we support you? How's the writing coming?
The writing has been put on hold.
Yeah,
right now.
I know.
Just a huge transition in our household. It's been a crazy couple months here. Good, bad, indifferent here at the Meyer household. Twitter's the best place to follow me. I'm ranting about something. If it's not Kansas City Chiefs, it is how terrible Bruce Weber is and probably should be fired. but it's always humorous. It's always good natured. I'm never too serious about this stuff because it is entertainment in my life, and that's all it needs to be.
All right, John, we love having you on. We will see you down the road. Appreciate you taking the time. I know you have 2 little ones, so it's not easy. So thank you very much.
Yeah, Mama's down there with both of them. Let me go.
All right, John Meyer, great job as always. All right, guys, we're going to talk a little NBA here. Let's start with you, Chris. I said this last year. He wears you thin. Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks battling around 500. A lot of teams are like that. We're going to talk to Dom in a minute about the Hawks, the Lakers. I look at this Knicks team, and I think they haven't improved from last year. And I don't know what the hell he's doing with Kemba Walker, but it seems like he doesn't like him. What's going on with the Knicks?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of issues. For starters, your best player in Julius Randle's numbers have taken a hit. He hasn't been as efficient, and the biggest week he's had is probably this week, and it's not just first play. It's for him basically telling the crowd at MSG to piss off pretty much, which is it's something. I don't blame him. I get the frustration. It's tough playing in New York, but his numbers have taken a hit. Not having Derrick Rose because of the ankle injury is obviously a huge hit to this team because he's one of the only guards that Thibodeau actually trusts on a night-to-night basis, so not having him in the lineup's big. The Kemba Walker thing is so weird. I know Kemba Walker started off struggling, but you kind of thought just give him a shot. He'll be fine. He can be a productive guard. Ends up going in the doghouse pretty much, then comes out, plays really well back-to-back games. But to your point, it just doesn't seem like he fits Thibodeau's idea of what he wants out of his point guard. And because of that, you can see visible tension. But this team has taken a step back. They're not as good as we thought they would be, but to be fair, I think you and me sat here and kind of said they overachieved last year.
Yeah.
The goal for them this year was just to get back in the playoffs, because if you just get back in the playoffs, and you have 2-3 games at MSG, they're going to be packed. They're going to be fun to watch. And that's kind of all you can ask for a team that doesn't have a bona fide superstar on their roster. But right now they're an 11 seed, and that is not going to cut it. They just got blown out by the Celtics. So it's a rough year right now.
Okay, so walk me through this here. You acquire Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. Kemba starts. He's in the doghouse. COVID injuries. Kemba comes off the bench, drops 40. Next game, he has a triple-double. So I agree with you. He's not Tom Thibodeau's point guard, but how much goddamn production do we want out of a point guard where he doesn't play for a month, he drops 40, and then the next game gets a triple-double? What the hell is Thibodeau doing?
Yeah, no, it really is a fair question. And I think for Thibodeau, and it's so unfair, he has this idea of what he wants from his point guard. And you know what he wants. He wants 15 points a game, but he wants a guy that's going to defend every single inch of the court. And that isn't Kemba Walker in terms of the defensive side of things. But at the same time, like, who cares? It's 2022. You're not winning games in the NBA consistently by playing defense. You got to score in this league. And I don't want to say that Thibodeau is, out or he's going to end up being on the hot seat, because I don't necessarily feel that's the case, but I think he thinks he has a different roster. He does not have the roster that fits his brand of basketball right now. And we saw that even with COVID, they're basically putting guys in and out, whether it's Miles McBride or Quentin Grimes, and guys like that have actually played well in the minutes they've gotten, but you do not have a championship roster right now. You don't have those 7 to 8 guys that he wants, that he can rely on and keep a thin rotation. You got to expand. You got to play Kemba Walker. I always thought this. I didn't like the Knicks point guard room kind of going into the season, but I thought, if Rose and Kemba can combine production-wise to give you a star guard, that's good enough. And frankly, they can do that, especially when Rose is healthy and Walker's allowed to play. But those two don't happen. One's injured, the other one's just not allowed to play pretty much. And it's a weird situation. I don't think you'll find any NBA team that's going to win games on a consistent basis when they don't have an actual point guard in the game. And that's one of the problems for the Knicks. And the other problem is when you don't have a point guard, that puts more pressure on Julius Randle. And I think we're seeing now this year how tough it is, especially for a guy like Julius Randle. He's probably a 2 or a 3. And the pressure of just being a 1 on a night-to-night basis multiple years, it's not easy. It isn't. And we're seeing that kind of unfold.
Well, it's not easy because, again, he doesn't have the talent as a number 1. So, Dom, I want to talk about a number 1 that people, really don't understand just how good he is, and that's Trae Young. So Trae Young this week just tied Michael Jordan in his 4th year for the career of 40 points and plus 10 assists. He's done it 9 times now. Mm-hmm. This guy is better than Steph Curry was in his first 4. Steph Curry didn't score 25 or more points till his 5th season or his 4th season. How good is this guy, and why don't you think he gets the national recognition that I think he deserves?
So Trae, just to put things in perspective, he's 4th in scoring this year. He's 3rd in assists per game, and he's 5th in PER. Trae Young has been one of the 10 best players in the league this year, and outside of Steph Curry, maybe you can put John Morant in that conversation. Trae Young has been the best point guard in the league. The reason why he doesn't get as much attention is because he plays in Atlanta. And that's funny because Atlanta is a big market city and it's a big market team. However, Atlanta has always had this kind of cloud when it comes to sports about being the lovable losers that no one takes serious. We saw that last year in the postseason. Myself included, I didn't think that the Hawks would make it past the first round. I thought that the Knicks would beat them. They ended up going into the Eastern Conference Finals. So there's always been this air that no one wants to take Atlanta sports team seriously, right? Like we saw that when the Braves finally won a World Series, it kind of was like, okay, the curse is broken. Now the Braves are starting to be looked at as like, all right, this is a legit team. And now they're a team that a lot of people are going to be paying attention if we have an MLB season, depending on if Manfred can get his stuff together there. But the Hawks are ridiculously talented. They've struggled this year, and their struggles come from a lot of different reasons, but Trae Young is not one of them.
No, and Dom, I said this, a lot of times things don't translate. Again, Tim Tebow, one of the best college football players ever, sucked as a pro. But Trae Young led the nation in scoring and assists. He was so efficient. He doesn't turn the ball over like a Westbrook. He's shooting over 90% from the free throw line. In every way, this guy up until now has been better than Steph Curry, but people don't want to put him in an elite category. And again, yes, he plays in Atlanta, but nowadays you see them on TV. You know, last year they were national. He had the national spotlight because they went to the conference finals.
Yep.
It, why is there a hatred towards players like Steph Curry because they shoot a jump shot?
Because it's not. I mean, it's not what we've been told.
It's
You know,
not
like
power, right? It's not
exactly right. Like you have who was it? Charles Barkley when the Golden State Warriors went on to win their first championship, and he was always talking about jump shooting teams or don't win championships. Well, the Warriors did, and they did it multiple times. You've seen now that the 3-point shot is such a weapon in today's NBA, and I feel like it's still kind of hard for people who grew up watching
Low
the
post
80s
players.
and the 90s,
Yeah.
you know, where it was all about, okay, you got to have a big man. If you don't have a center, you can't win a championship. Like even when Michael Jordan was drafted, a ton of people were like, yeah, he's going to be a good player, but they're not going to win a championship with him. He's no Hakeem Olajuwon. So
Right.
it's that shifting of the guard, so to speak, where now having perimeter shooting is more important than having a low post presence in today's NBA.
Chris, it's so frustrating for me for someone who loves LeBron, and I watch the Lakers and the Hawks, and LeBron is number one in the NBA in his 19th season, scoring 30 or more points. Chris, it's the same BS every year. LeBron's got to be the best player on the court in crunch time, 4 quarters. What do the Lakers need to do? Because they have struggled game in and game out. And listen, Kendrick Nunn hasn't played. Trevor Ariza, on and off, older guys. Where do you see the Lakers? And if I'm them, either I move Westbrook to the bench and he's the best player on a second unit, or I trade him. How can the Lakers get better?
It's such a tough situation. And they kind of put themselves in this situation, so I don't necessarily feel bad, but there's two things. I mean, as far as Westbrook, like when you trade for Westbrook, you know what you're going to get. And I don't get why, you know, there are some fans that are just like, hey, you know what? He's a little inefficient. What are we doing here? Like, no, that's Russell Westbrook. And I think for the Lakers, that's not the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem was after they won the finals in 2020, there was supposed to be this shift where Anthony Davis became the top guy and they would build the team around him, which made sense. They would get a center because he doesn't like to play the 5. They would get a point guard like Dennis Schroeder who wanted to move the ball and get in that pick and roll offense. And they built it around him. But there's one problem. You can't build an NBA team right now around Anthony Davis just for one reason. He can't stay healthy. Like I know a lot of people think it's because he's not tough enough, but I don't read into that because you know what? If he doesn't want to play the 5, so be it. I've seen him have dominant stretches. It's just he's always injured. And it's a shame because he's so fun to watch, but you can't rely on him. So what does that mean? Now that means LeBron, who is in his late 30s, now has to carry a team. And he's trying his best. He's doing his best. And the way he's played the last couple of games, he's going to put himself in the MVP conversation yet again. So it's just a bad situation. And I think the only way it really gets fixed is when Anthony Davis is back and when Anthony Davis is actually healthy. Can he A, sustain it, and B, can he play better? Before he got hurt, he was shooting 18% from the 3-point line. That's not good enough, and he just has to be better. So I don't know if it's as simple as, hey, trade Westbrook, let's move around pieces. The Cavs did it a couple of years ago when LeBron was there, and they just reshuffled their whole roster, and they still made the finals, but that's because the East was weak at the time. You don't have that luxury in the West. You can't just reshuffle the roster and figure it out and you'll be fine. So they kind of have to stick with the pieces they have, in my opinion. Maybe they add a vet or two at the deadline, but it's Anthony Davis. If he comes back, can he actually be an alpha player? Because right now they don't have him on the court. And when he's on the court, he hasn't been that. So I'm very curious to see how he plays when he comes back.
Okay. And Dom, again, I mean, I look at the West right now and I say, okay, even if the Lakers make some trades here, it's Phoenix and it's Golden State. I mean, they're in the finals. Am I wrong for thinking that?
No, I was going to say in the Western Conference, like the Lakers have a shot, obviously, just when you have that much talent. And any team that has LeBron on it, like you have a shot. The problem with the Lakers, they're hinging upon the fact of can Anthony Davis stay healthy and is he willing to play the 5? That's really going to be the determining factor for the Lakers of whether or not they win a championship. As far as the other teams in the West, it's Golden State and it's Phoenix. The thing that's scary about Golden State is that like they've done all of this without Clay. Like, the way Golden State has played for most of the season was how I think a lot of when they get Clay back and then after the All-Star break is when this team will really start to put it together. No, they look like that right now.
Right.
Steph has been phenomenal. Yes, he's had this little stretch recently where
I think he's just worn out. I think he's worn down.
He's been doing so much for this team so far this year. He's starting to get a little worn down. That's okay. He's going to relax. I'm not worried about Steph. Steph is going to be fine. Klay Thompson. If Klay Thompson can come back, because I don't worry about Klay on the offensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, his offensive game was never really like explosive based or anything like that. He's a guy moves around well, gets his open shot, pure jumper. That's kind of his game, right? I don't worry about him offensively. With Klay, if you can get just 75% of what he was defensively after these injuries, Golden State is very scary.
And not just that, you know, when he's on the court, you know, you can't double Steph, right? Because if you leave him open, I just saw a video of Mark Price, the former Cleveland Cavalier guard, shooting in a gym. He dropped like 18 out of 19 3-pointers. Like, shooters are always going to shoot. They could come off the bench and drop 30. Okay, Chris, before we let you go, switching gears one more time here. I wrote an article on Nuts and Bolts Sports, the College Football National Championship. I had Georgia winning all week because I used the Ohio State last year against Clemson. People don't know this. 2 years ago, Ohio State lost to Clemson in the Final Four. And all year they had the video playing in their locker room, playing in the weight room of them losing. So they were so motivated. Georgia can't seem to beat Alabama. They just lost to them in the SEC championship. But I picked Alabama to win simply because Georgia's offense can stop the run. They're weak against the pass. Who wins this game and why?
You know, I want to say Georgia. Like, I really do. Like, I think it'd be a really, really good, you know, just nice story for Kirby Smart. Nice story to just kind of see Nick Saban lose to one of his assistant coaches in the biggest game of the year. But the biggest concern for me is, what is Stetson Bennett going to do in this game? And I think that's all it comes down to for Georgia. The defense is great. I expect the defense to ball out just like it did against Michigan. But the big games, they come down to quarterbacks. And I know what Bama has in Bryce Young. I know he was shaky against Cincinnati, but that was his first playoff game. I felt like he was going to go through a couple of hiccups here and there. Stetson Bennett played great against Michigan. I don't know if he necessarily plays great against Alabama. He didn't play great against Alabama the first time around. I will add, Alabama doesn't have John Mechie for this one. They had him in the SEC championship game. That's a huge loss for their offense. So, but I think Alabama found something with their running game with Robinson, and I think that's going to play dividends in this game. I think they're going to be able to run the football at least enough to keep Georgia's defense honest, and if you can do that, we know that Bryce Young's not scared of this Georgia defense, and I think that's good for him. He's going to have a comfort level of going up against them, and I love me some Jameson Williams. He is just one of the most explosive receivers that's in the nation right now, and I know it's not what people want to see. It's not what people want to hear, but I think Alabama will win. I think it's going to be really close. I really do. I think we're going to see a 24-20 type of game. I think we're going to see good defense from both sides, but I can't pick Stetson Bennett in the national championship game to have a big game. If he does, it would be a great story from a kid who transferred out of Georgia. All of a sudden, Georgia loses quarterbacks. They need him back. He comes back to Georgia. If he were able to win a national championship, it would be a great story, but I have my reservations about whether or not he's going to have a big game on Monday night.
I mean, and just think about this, right? I said this early on in the show for you guys who weren't on. Devontae Smith last year is in Alabama. He sets the rookie record in Philadelphia for most yards. Jalen Waddle in Miami, without a good quarterback in Tua, has 99 receptions. He's going to break Anquan Bolden's record. I mean, just think about the factory of wide receivers. And we talked about, the Saints winning in a different way. Nick Saban's a defensive coach, and he realized somewhere along the line, hey, man, I can be the best defensive team in the country. I need to score points. I have Alabama winning as well. Okay, Chris, good luck today with the Saints. If they win, we'll have you back on. And if not, we'll have you back on anyway to talk New York Knicks. How can we follow and support you?
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Rosevogel Report. You can check out my work for The Spun and SI Now, and also check out the podcast Straight Up Saints for Boot Crew Media. And real quick, Monte, totally agree. Nick Saban changed the game. We always thought Alabama quarterbacks would stink, and then all of a sudden they rattled off Jalen Hurts, Tua, Mac Jones, now Bryce Young. So exactly. Times have changed.
It's crazy. All right, Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Monte.
Take care. Chris Rosevogel does a tremendous job. Okay, this is gonna be a little painful for me. We're bringing on Rico. Show me the Mo Graziano. Two Steeler fans here, kind of annoying. Okay, Dom, we'll start with you. Rico first. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Monte. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing.
You
Listen,
seem well. You always seem well. I mean,
I'm doing okay. I look at Big Ben, right? And you guys may have a different perspective because I'm on the outside looking in. I look at Big Ben, the Super Bowls, the Pro Bowls, and I think to myself, man, this guy underachieved. With all the talent that he had, if he could have just worked out in the offseason, dedicated himself like Tom Brady could, he could have been one of the greats. Dom, we'll start with you. Am I way out of bounds saying this because he's going to be in the Hall of Fame?
I mean, how many other quarterbacks won multiple Super Bowls in the NFL history?
Okay. Dom just won the argument right there.
Like, it's funny, and maybe again, this is maybe being a little biased. I've always thought Ben was a little underrated. I thought for the majority of his career, he was kind of always just outside of that elite quarterback conversation. And Ben has been nothing but consistent his entire career. I think he's had injuries. You know, the team has suffered some injuries to key players like Antonio Brown, like Le'Veon Bell during those stretches where they had a ton of talent. But Ben has been the consummate Steeler. He's the greatest Steeler quarterback of all time. No disrespect to Terry Bradshaw. I love him. But think about what Ben did. Like, and I'm young, right? Like, I was born in the 90s, so I didn't necessarily have to live through that rough period. But, like, that time period after the 70s was really rough.
Come on, you mean Bubby Brister's not on your
okay.
Bubby Brister's
like,
not on your list, Rico?
Like,
Neil O'Donnell's not on your list?
Right. Ben
got
Ben saved this Steeler team from those dark ages and brought us back to the glory of the Lombardi twice. I mean, we got there 3 times, and the only time he lost was to Aaron Rodgers, another all-time great quarterback. In my opinion, Ben has been underrated for the majority of his career. He's a shoo-in to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Shout out to Ben. Throw one of these up for him.
So Rico, you agree with Dom or disagree? I think Ben is underachieved. I'm crazy, right?
Oh yeah, you're totally crazy. I mean, again, like you said, look at his career. I mean, you know, he is part of that first group of these quarterbacks that have lasted 15 years. Prior to that, you very rarely, I mean, like, you know, you could say there's just a handful of guys who've done double-digit seasons prior to, you know, your Phillip Rivers and all these guys that are there now because they've changed the rules for them. So, like, to be a Steeler fan and just have such consistency, never – and, of course, he would have a dud game here and there. And when his games were duds, they were epic duds. But, yeah, I was a fan. I started being a fan like 1980. So I started in the beginning of the dark years that you're speaking of. And because I was like, I'm going to stick with this team. Sooner or later, they'll be a winner. And you know what? When Ben fell on our lap, we just signed Maddox, I think, for like a big extension.
Oh, Tommy Maddox. Yeah, good point.
So it was a big move for Pittsburgh to be like, this guy is that good. We can't pass him up, even though we just signed our quarterback. Like, and they took him. And it was, I remember everybody was like, what are they doing? Maddox was playing great. And then Ben came in and broke records his rookie year. I mean, he went like
15-1.
Yeah, 15-1 or whatever it was. I remember it was, but of course they did what like Arizona's going to do this year. They went into the playoffs and they lost right away.
Okay, so you guys totally disagree with me. That's fine. Dom, we'll start with you. Give me percentage of this happening next year. Aaron Rodgers with the Steelers.
So I'm a fan, but I'm not delusional. I don't see do I think there's a chance? Yes, I'll say 10%. 10% chance Rodgers comes to Pittsburgh. And that's solely because he loves Mike Tomlin. But anytime Aaron Rodgers gets the chance, he always, without even being prompted, lets people know how much he loves the city of Pittsburgh. Like, he loves the city. He loves Mike Tomlin. He loves everything about like what Pittsburgh is. Do I think in the back of his mind he would like to be a Steeler? Yes. Do I think he looks at this roster and says, I can win a Super Bowl here? No. And that's the most important thing.
Hold up there for a second, Dom, because I've had this conversation with Rico. If they go out and either sign a free agent or draft an offensive lineman, you have a stud running back. You have a plethora of wide receiver. As long as you have TJ Watt and Hayward and other guys, you have a very good roster in the AFC.
You have a pretty good roster. I still think that offensive line is just going to need time to get better. There's so many young pieces there. Even if you do go out and get like a solid vet or draft someone, they're still going to need time to gel. And I just don't think that that'll be like you talk about Najee Harris being a stud. The fact that he's rushed for over 1,000 yards behind this offensive line is ridiculous. Like, I don't think people realize how good Najee really is.
Alabama.
But to achieve that behind this offensive line with, once again, another terrible offensive coordinator in Matt Canada is truly spectacular. But yeah, like I said, I like Rodgers. I would love to have Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh.
Course, yeah.
Who wouldn't, right? But like I said, I don't think Rodgers looks at this situation and says, I can win a Super Bowl here. I think he looks at Denver and says, I can win a Super Bowl here. And I think that's where he'll end up next year.
Okay, Rico, we talk about Najee Harris. One of the things you said early on is like, this guy never comes off the field. One of the things that aggravates me so much is Kamara will have a 15-yard gain. And again, I'm going into the finals because the nuts and bolts sports fantasy football is you play each team 2 weeks in the playoffs and it's cumulative score. I don't have Joe Burrow today. Joe Burrow's sitting out. But Najee Harris, Alvin Kamara will run for 15 yards, and then they take him out at the start of the second half for no reason. Najee Harris never comes off the field.
No, well, yeah, there's nobody behind him. Who are you going to put in there? Every time you put there's only so many guys who can always get hit in the backfield and actually get, like, yards. I mean, every time he gets 100 yards, I'm shocked because I'm like, how did that happen today? Because every time he seems to get the ball, he's getting hit. Literally, I think that, like, there's a crazy stat that, like, 65% of the time he gets hit in the backfield, first contact happens behind the line of scrimmage, which is insane that he's even got, like, every time I feel bad for him. I'm like, this poor guy, how is he doing it? But you know what? I mean, I just real quick on the Rodgers thing. I love Pittsburgh. I love going to Pittsburgh. I love everything about the city of Pittsburgh. I'm not moving to Pittsburgh. I feel like Rodgers has the same thing. I love everything about Pittsburgh.
But wait, Rico. He lives, during the season, he's in Green Bay. Pittsburgh has a much better nightlife than Green Bay, Wisconsin does.
Southside Pittsburgh is awesome.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is great. I love Pittsburgh. It's, I love everything about it. Like I said, it's one of the most charming, cool-looking cities you'll ever go to. I've been to a lot of cities. And it's not overly packed, overly crazy. But anyway.
Okay, Dom, why isn't he getting more notoriety or more recognition? I know everyone wants to talk about Chase, but he should be in the Rookie of the Year category because their offensive line sucks.
Absolutely. No. So I've been pushing this train for a while now. Like, I think Jamar Chase absolutely should win Rookie of the Year this year.
Yeah. Easy.
However, everyone was talking about, is it Jamar Chase or Mac Jones? And for me, it's Jamar Chase or Najee Harris. Najee accounts for like over 60% of this offense from scrimmage yards and things like that.
That's insane.
Like, think about, as a rookie, one, he broke Franco Harris's record for yards for a rookie in a rookie season. And as a rookie, he's going to have rushed for over 1,100 yards, will have over 500 receiving yards, and will have accounted for probably something like 12 touchdowns by the end of the season. He's been phenomenal. And like I said, he's done that with an old quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger. Love him, but Ben is washed now. He is a terrible offensive line and a terrible offensive coordinator. Like, he has everything going against him right now, and he's still one of the 5 best running backs in the league. If you look statistically, you look at the numbers, he's been one of the 5 best running backs in the league this year. With everything going against him.
I can't wait to see what Tomlin does with him next year, because from his past, Tomlin, he will hand him the ball 75% of the time.
Yeah, listen, Tomlin doesn't rest his running backs. Okay.
No, especially his young
Rico.
ones.
I don't know why I'm the only one saying this. Okay, Jamar Chase is probably going to win Rookie of the Year. He's breaking a receiving yards record that Justin Jefferson just broke. Fine. Okay. Najee Harris, you want to put him in the conversation. But Jalen Waddle, with no quarterback, okay, is breaking a record that has stood tall since 2003 with Anquan Bolden and the Arizona Cardinals. Jalen Waddle has 99 catches with a crappy quarterback, and now he's going to break the record because he needs 3 receptions to break Anquan Bolden's record. No one's talking about this kid who missed the game because of COVID and his productivity as Rookie of the Year. Why not?
Well, you can't look, again, if we're talking about like, hey, if this guy had a better offensive line, he should be rookie of the year. If he had a better quarterback, he should be rookie of the year. It comes down to who's putting up the hard numbers. And Chase is putting up the hard numbers.
Rico, Waddle's breaking a record that has stood tall since 2003 with a terrible quarterback.
Yeah, but when it comes to receivers and quarterbacks, like Peyton Manning said it too. He said no record when it comes to throwing and catching will ever last very long. He said, it's a different.
That's
league,
what I'm saying. This has been 17 years, 18 years.
Yeah, but again, I see that record getting broken again within the next 2 or 3.
Go ahead, Dom.
I see Dom.
So I'll say this. I think one, I disagree with you about Tua. I think Tua is actually a very good quarterback. He's just been in a really tough situation in Miami. But
Okay.
Jalen Waddle, I think the thing that really kind of put a cloud over him was the Dolphins starting off 1-7. I think they start 1-7 and no one cares about them anymore.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good point.
1-7, we don't think about the Dolphins anymore.
That's
They're done. They went on a 7-game win streak and ended up making it fun at the end. But I feel like that kind of really put him in a bad place in a hole, like where with all these other guys like Mac Jones and the Patriots, they're going to be in the playoffs. Jamar Chase and the Bengals, they're going to be in the playoffs. Creed Humphrey and the Chiefs, they're going to be in the playoffs. The Steelers, this was Ben's last year. So that team, like we had a bunch of media and stuff like that. Jalen Waddle played on a team that was 1-7 halfway through the season. So we didn't care about them.
Very good point. That's a very good point. Okay, Dom, give us your final 4 in the AFC, your final 4 in the NFC, and who gets to the championship.
Whew. Okay, final 4 in the AFC. Obviously, I have the Chiefs. I think the Bengals will make it. The Bengals.
Whoa!
I do.
I like that.
There's so much talent on that team, man, and I love Joe Burrow. Like, it's very rare that you will hear me say that I love a division rival, like a division. Love that kid. I think Patriots, just because of Bill Belichick, and my last team, I think the Titans will be in the final in the NFC. I don't think that they'll be a real contender to win a Super Bowl this year.
So you're not
just
you're
because I don't
not
trust my answer.
you're like me. You think the Bills are good, but they are limited.
Yeah. So I've said this before. Buffalo is a soft. They can't run the ball and they don't stop the run. They're soft, and for them to just not run the ball at all is so crazy because as a defense, the thing that you want to do is make a team one-dimensional. I want to take away the run so that way you're forced to pass.
Oh, I think Dom froze there.
All the time passing situations. You don't have to try and take away the run from the Bills because they're not going to try to run the ball at all. So it's every time. Now, granted, you have to have a spy because Josh Allen is probably the best running back on that team as well as being the quarterback.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
It's hard. I think there's a lot of talent, but I just don't see. The way that they play isn't conducive to winning in the postseason to me.
No, I agree with that. And give us your 2 final teams in the NFC and who gets to the Super Bowl.
NFC, I have the Packers and the Rams. I am going to stick with my preseason Super Bowl selection, which was Chiefs versus Rams. I'm a believer in Matthew Stafford. I'm a believer in McVay. I think that we're going to see a really great duel between those two teams. And I think Stafford solidifies himself and shows people that he actually was a good quarterback, just in a terrible situation in Detroit. But I got Chiefs and Rams in the Super Bowl.
Okay, a very, very good pick. Rico kind of looked at you funny there. But let me ask you this, Rico, with Dom here, then we'll let him go. Rico, are you anti-Burrow? Because let's face it, Cincinnati has never really been – I know the battle between them two when they had Ocho Cinco and Andy Dalton, but the Steelers always had the upper hand. Are you going to start to dislike Burrow the more success he has?
Well, I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, wow, they beat us the last 3 times in a row. And not beat us, they've beaten us the last 3 times in a row. And, he's hard to not like. But you know what? I like Brady. I didn't like Brady for a lot of years too. He's that good-looking quarterback, plays great. He beats you every time. As Dom knows, we've watched Brady come walking in at our stadium. We've gone there, and he just beats us, and I do not want to relive that all over again with Burrow.
Andrea, who lives in Wisconsin, absolutely hates the Packers with like
That's
a
gotta be
vengeance.
fun.
She hates the Packers with a vengeance. All right, Dom, talk about No Huddle Necessary. When can we watch? How can we follow? How can we support you?
Absolutely. So like Monty said, I am the host of No Huddle Necessary here on Nuts and Bolts Sports on the YouTube page. We go live every Wednesday, 8 p.m. We'll be doing that until the end of the football season here, so going all the way up until the Super Bowl. We just have people come on and we talk about a couple of different things, topics and stuff like that. Have a good time. It's lighthearted, but it's fun. It's good stuff. Not everybody screaming at each other for a whole hour or anything like that. But so make sure you guys check that out. Also, you can see my Twitter handle. There it is. Yeah. There at Dom You're Live. That follow me on Twitter. Again, talking about the Steelers, talking about a lot of things. I have a lot of opinions, but for the most part, I try and keep everything pretty lighthearted, keep it fun, but also always try and make sure that I'm giving out real information. I feel like too many people are just trying to give hot takes. I want to make sure that people know what they're talking about and make sure that I'm giving out right information. So yeah, you guys can follow me there. Thanks for having me on, Monty. Like I said, always love being on the show.
Dom, real quick, Hawks make the playoffs, right? They're not in jeopardy of not making
Oh yeah,
it,
so
right?
the Hawks will make the playoffs. I think that the Hawks have been very disappointing, but like I said, they've had a lot of
Injuries,
COVID. Shout out to my Bulls though, being number one in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. I talked about that in the beginning, man.
Yeah.
I said going into the season with Daniel Goodwin III, who's been on your show and my show, no team has improved more than the Bulls this offseason. DeMar DeRozan's an MVP candidate. Zach LaVine scoring 26 a game. I'm just worried about their depth. Daniel Goodwin brought up a great point. He said, go out and get Marvin Bagley, who's basically wasting away in Sacramento. He's a perfect stretch four.
Yeah, I would love that. And also I think Patrick Williams has missed like 80% of the season this year.
Yeah.
And he's a fantastic two-way player, has good length, great defender. I mean, LeBron James last year basically said that he reminds him of a young Kawhi Leonard. So this Bulls team, man, they're so talented on both sides of the ball. I'm super excited to see what they do.
Just like I said, my only concern is just their depth. They only play 7-8 guys. All right, Dom, we'll see you down the road. Thanks so much for taking the time out. Appreciate
Take it
you.
easy, Dom.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Rico, 10 wins, 5 losses. You've guaranteed a 4th straight win for you going into this week.
Luckily, it's you. Luckily, I don't pick the games because I'd be doing terrible this year.
Well, I was going to ask you because someone said to me a few weeks ago, you're so mean. You don't let Rico pick his own games. I'm like, no, because Rico would pick the Steelers every week, right? So, I mean, I have to give him the better games, right?
Yeah, no, you definitely. It's the reason. It's because I'm not emotionally. As bettors, what happens is that bettors, what we do is that we actually get into. We pick games we're emotionally involved in. Like we're gonna watch. We're gonna Aaron Rodgers, great. I was reading, you're reading articles during the week. You do your not your football homework, but your football hobby of reading what teams, this, that, and the other thing. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, that guy. Like if I read something that you wrote, I'm like, oh, Kyle Pitts is going to be great as a fantasy football tight end. He's in. I'm in. I'm emotionally involved in this guy, and then he duds out. But that being said,
which by the way, we have a little chat going on. Let's calm down with Kyle Pitts. He's the second tight end in history to have as many yards. The only other guy was Mike Ditka, who was the first tight end ever inducted into the Hall of Fame. So as a rookie, Kyle Pitts has kicked ass.
Now, fantasy-wise, Kyle Pitts has not done anything great. Again, your level of me loving you is how good you do fantasy-wise. Even if you're not on my team, I will respect it.
So does that mean you and Levi are getting a divorce because Levi is no longer? You guys didn't make the playoffs this year. My sister
we
Diane
made the playoffs in 2 teams,
but you didn't win big money.
We won. We only got 3rd and 1. And the funny part is the one that we got 4th place in. We had Jamari Chase who scored 50 points that day, and we still lost. That wrapped up our whole fantasy year is the fact that we scored 115 points, 50 of them from one player, and that was the rest that we could put together with the rest of our team. The fact that we made the playoffs in 2 of the 6 is shocking.
I'm in the finals, like I said. But Rico, I'm looking at the roster right now. I got to go with Taylor Heineke because my quarterback is Joe Burrow. The only guy who's going to play all 4 quarters will be Taylor Heineke. They're not going to sit him for Washington. I could pick Tua, but they're going against New England. I got to play him.
Yeah, I have no choice. I know. I was doing my fantasy team today, and I was like, who do I go for? Who do I take for quarterback? I had no idea. I didn't even know what to do. I think I took blindly. I don't even know if he's going to be playing. Is Taysom Hill? I was like, I think he plays
playing
the whole game. Maybe
he's got to play the whole game. And you don't want to take Matt Ryan, who's going against an elite defense. All right, Rico, let's get to these games. Listen, if San Francisco wins, they're in. Okay, and they're going up against George Lopez and the Rams. The 49ers have won 5 straight against the Rams, Rico. And I'm shocked because the spread is 4.5. The Rams are favored. Who wins this game and why?
Well, I mean, the San Francisco gave them a beatdown 6-7 weeks ago. It might have even been the Rams' last loss where they blew them out. I forgot what 31-10, I think it was.
Right.
So but that again, this is a playoff game. Do the Rams want San Francisco in the playoffs? No. Can the Rams beat them? Of course they can. The Rams have won 6 in a row. Are they on fire? Yes. Do I see the Rams winning? Yes. Does everybody want to see San Francisco win? Yes. So I'm taking the Rams in this game. San Francisco's defensive backs they're playing, but they've been on protocol all week, so they haven't been in practice. It's not like when a quarterback or a wide receiver, when you're a secondary, defensive guys are flowing. Every week is very different. Every week they have new packages, new sets, the whole bit. So, they need on-field work. So it's very different when your defensive players are on protocol compared to your offensive players. Offensive players are doing the same thing in and out every week. They kind of know what, like quarterbacks can, Brady misses, 3 days of practice a week sometimes.
Aaron Rodgers didn't practice.
Aaron Rodgers,
his toe. He didn't practice week 6 to 10.
Defensive backs are very different. They're very different. So, it's a very cerebral position. Is that the word they use?
That is very, very nice SAT word. Okay, Thank Rico, here we go. My friend Mike emailed me 3 times this week and said, don't you dare, since we're still fighting for our playoff lives, don't you dare have Rico pick this game. 8-7-1 Steelers at the 8-8 Ravens. How the hell are the Ravens a 4.5 favorite here?
Do you know why? Because it really doesn't matter. It's a no-matter game. It sucks. I'm going to watch it, and just knowing, to expect one of the best teams of football to lose to one of the worst teams in football today to get into the playoffs is a joke. It's not going to happen. There is no way the Colts crack, I mean, the game is a joke. It's literally that. I'm not talking about the Colts versus the Jaguars. If the Colts win, if the Colts lose, Pittsburgh or the Ravens can make the playoffs depending on if the Colts lose. Only reason. But the game is a joke, literally, where the fans are wearing clown costumes to the game today in Jacksonville. So it's, does it really matter? 4.5 points? I don't think it
Rico,
really matters.
keep hope alive, man. Keep hope alive.
I got hope alive, but you know what I mean? It's not. I'm taking Pittsburgh because I'm taking Pittsburgh. It's 4.5 points. It's Ben's last game. I don't see, I'm taking Pittsburgh. But I always take Pittsburgh, so I wouldn't touch this game.
I have Harris and Kamara going. You expect Harris to get 30 touches, right?
Of course, he's going to touch the ball. Tomlin doesn't take weeks off. He's going to be pushing everybody. He's playing like the Colts are going to lose.
Okay, so in a game you went to, and you finally realized, wow, Justin Herbert is a stud. When you had the Chargers play the Raiders, the Chargers hosted them, and the Chargers won, even though there were more fans in Vegas. This scene is going to be insane. The Chargers are actually favored here by 3. Who wins this game and why?
So being at this game and watching every play in between the plays, there's a lot that goes on. Like the Raiders, they got beat that game, but what was working for them, they just weren't using. They weren't doing. They were throwing the ball downfield. It was working. What did they do the next series? They ran 3 times in a row. It was like everything that works for them on defense too, they just went away from immediately. They stacked the box. What did they do? They stopped Eckler. As soon as they stopped Eckler, they went into a prevent, literally like a prevent defense, and Eckler was running all over them. So I'm actually going against the grain here, and I think the Raiders are going to break everybody's heart.
Don't break my heart. You tell me my boy Justin Herbert won't be in the playoffs?
Exactly. everybody, the Raiders they're a scrappy, dirty, grimy team. I'm not talking about in a bad way. I mean, like
Right.
they just somehow are. I mean, the fact that they even have 9 wins is shocking because Derek Carr, he's been slinging it this year, and nobody's giving him any. Everything bad he does gets pressed. Everything good he does.
He's a good quarterback. He's a very good quarterback.
And everybody wants to see the Chargers in the playoffs. Everybody
Yes.
wants to see them in the playoffs.
Yes. I do.
So, I mean, the Raiders do what the Raiders do. Are the Raiders spoilers? Yeah, they've been spoilers forever. And I feel like they're going to do it again today.
I'm just worried, win or lose, with that crowd, those drunken Raider fans in Vegas. Vegas, if they make the playoffs this year, if a part of me wants them to win because John Gruden's such a jerk, I want them to make the playoffs without him.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's the NFL, and you could be, and it's so true to the NFL that you get erased from the NFL so fast.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. He was the coach on that team. He was their coach. Like it's the NFL.
I say this all the time. I say the NBA will go on when LeBron retires. The NBA will go on when Brady. The NFL will go on when Brady retires. No one is bigger than the sport. No one.
No. That's why the Yankees are the ones who say that. That's why nobody's got their name on the back of the shirts on the Yankees. Because nobody's bigger than the Yankees.
No one's bigger than the Yankees.
Player.
All right, Rico, it's that time of the show where you always go on a big time rant. And I'm just questioning, are you a little sad? Because my dad said this week he's a little upset because the season's over. Do you start to get depressed now?
No, that happens in the layover week before the Super Bowl is where I start to get a little sad, where I start to realize because I'm in denial that football season can happen all year and that the off season will be quick. Like, usually I'm like, it's going to be a quick off season. Like I can live with this. Like it's going to be, and then cut to like 3 months in. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe how long this is. But, so I'm in denial. But, my thing is like with this whole, week 18 on paper was great. They added another football game. Me and Levi were bumping chests. We were like, this is the best thing. This is great. I can't believe this. But you know what? I am shocked to say, in reality, like this is not a good idea. And it has nothing to do with like, and yeah, I worry about people getting hurt, blah, 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 blah. It has nothing to do with that. And I know you can always go into that as a player's family, this, that, the other thing. But the reality of it is like the playoffs by week 16, I want the playoffs to start. Like, let's go. Let's get this rolling. Now we're in 18. There's been probably in the last 2 weeks, probably about 15 games that are just mean nothing.
Nothing. Well, look at Philadelphia last night. They sat Jalen Hurts. They sat their all-pro center Kelsey. Devontae Smith broke the rookie receiving records for the Eagles. He caught 3 passes. He sat the second, third, and fourth quarter. So I get what you're saying. Like some of these games, I know you want them. And I'm starting to realize that teams don't care. If you're a good team, you give a rat's ass about home field. Do you think Tom Brady cares about playing in Tampa? He can win in Green Bay. He can win in Dallas. He doesn't care.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? I think what makes it work is because there's so many, somebody was like, well, they just added another playoff team. I'm like, if you go in 18 weeks, maybe you have 2 teams that get a bye and you add 2 more teams to the another team to the mix. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, listen, I don't mind. I don't mind
another playoff team.
I like the only one team gets a bye because it puts more emphasis. But I don't think teams are really caring about their playoff seedings right now. Obviously the Colts have to win, but I don't think the Rams care. I don't think obviously the Philadelphia Eagles didn't care. And look what Rico, you can relate to this. I already contacted my therapist for the end of the NFL sessions. So you have a good friend who's a Charger fan, correct?
Yes. No, Raiders fan.
Okay. And what's his mindset going into tonight's game?
Well, the good thing about Raiders fan is that they always aim low. They always shoot low. And you know what? When good things, it's like a motto of life. Like expect the average, and when you get above it, you're great. You're living. Or
it's like dating you. Expect the bare minimum, and anything you do out of the box is good.
By the way, I got a great story for us next week. Wait till you hear this
little teaser.
The teaser. I was gonna tell it this week, but I was so annoyed by the 18th week of the season how boring it is. because it is a boring week.
Yeah.
It's a boring week of football. It's like watching like bowl games that have been like postponed.
Or a bowl game that has no bearing on the national championship picture.
Of
Rico,
anything.
Final question. My friend Tom says, how come Rico doesn't play Madden football on one of the gaming consoles? You were never a big guy like that?
You know what, I used to, but then like a few years ago when I got with Melissa, it was kind of like,
Get a life, right?
Yeah. It's tough. It was tough to break. To tell your pregnant wife, hey, listen, can I use like 3 hours? Because to play Madden up to the level that guys play now. But I played Madden from the beginning, right from the beginning. I love Madden. I think it's one of the best video games of all time.
Rico, I used to play Tecmo Bowl with Bo Jackson.
Yeah, that's right. The noodle.
Yeah,
play that worked every time.
You just go up, down, up, down.
Yeah.
So
the sweep,
you don't have Xbox or anything like that in the house.
No, I got a PlayStation 5. I didn't say, "Whoa, let's not get crazy." Of course, I got it. I just haven't used it in a while. I mean, when you get time that's filling the time, it's you got your kid. I got the kid now. He's like it's fun. I know that they're a pain in the butt, but they're actually fun too. He's actually at that fun age where everything I do is amazing to him, no matter what I do. I'm like, Penn. He's like, yeah, Penn.
I know Rico, take advantage of this time because once he gets older, he's going to realize how annoying you really are and be like, I can't believe I idolized this guy.
I think we have time. Maybe I'll save the story. Just remind me next week 100% to tell the good story that I got because it's a great story.
I will remind you, and thank you for the teaser. Enjoy the games, and I'm hoping the Chargers win tonight.
I feel like the Raiders are going to do what the Raiders do. They're going to make everybody go like this.
Oh, Rico, wait, what am I saying? You do have this, right?
Yes, of course. I got an Oculus. The Oculus is great. I've been doing the boxing lately. My shoulders are killing me.
What's your record in boxing?
No, you just spar with the guys. I'm on the third. Whoever the third guy is, the Russian guy. He's tough. He's a tough one.
Are you talking smack to the Russian?
Now you got to duck and dodge a lot more, and my ducking and dodging is not great.
Have you watched Cobra Kai yet?
No, I haven't. I'm waiting. Right now, I'm in the middle of Yellowstone, so I started this TV show Yellowstone. It's really good.
You gotta watch Cobra Kai. It gets good after the fourth episode.
You see, look, you burned it out. Now you got to wait till next year. Well, they already filmed 5, so
they already filmed 5. I think it's coming out in the spring.
Wow, that's fast.
All right, Rico. See you next week.
I'll see you guys next week. Have fun.
Take care. All right, I want to thank all my guests. I want to thank John Meyer. I want to thank Chris Rosenglue. I want to thank the host of No Huddle Necessary, Dominic. Definitely check him out Wednesday evening on the Nuts and Bolts YouTube channel. And I want to thank you guys. We had some problems with my controller here for the computer and in the studio, but we fixed it. So no harm, no foul. Make sure to subscribe to the Nuts and Bolts YouTube channel. And in the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.
They hit big shots. Rico, the Clippers have no identity.
You have a record that will never be broken.
You mentioned it.
They hit big shots. Rico, I think the Clippers have no identity.
Oh, look at that reaction. Look at that reaction.